All right, for example 2, we are going to decide whether each numerical summary is a statistic or a parameter. So remember, a statistic means that that summary came from a sample, and a parameter means that that summary came from a population. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video real quick, read both scenario A and B, and decide whether we're talking about a statistic or a parameter. All right, so how did you do? For the first one, it should be a statistic because you are not going to get every single full-time college student as part of your survey. Again, it would take way too long and way too much time. So you would do a sampling. You would survey some college students to get that information. For part B, since only 12 men have walked on the moon, all of those men and their ages were included in that parameter. There would be no need to do a smaller sample size because, again, it's already a pretty small population size. Okay. All right, so moving on to the next part. Here is some information about some tablets. In each case, we want to identify the population, what the sample is, what the variables are, and the type of variable. So is it qualitative or is it quantitative? And we'll break that down further into discrete or continuous. And then what is an individual in this particular table? So first, population. I'm going to give you just a little bit of a starting hint. Remember, we want to use the word all. Okay, that's the hint. So all what? Even though this table doesn't represent all of something, it is representing a smaller group of something. So what would that be? Okay, this would be, in this case, all tablets. Okay, all tablets. So what is the sample? Well, out of all the tablets that are manufactured, okay, the sample is the 4 tablets shown in the table. Okay, so just those 4 that were picked out. All right, the variables and the type of variable. Now remember, I said you could always think of variables as sort of like and the data is like the spreadsheet. What are you trying to find out? Okay, so for variables, those actually are the different columns. So we would have the memory size or capacity. We would have the display size. And we would have the price or the cost. Okay, and now it's a matter of what kind of variables are those? Are they qualitative, meaning it's a category of data? Is it quantitative, which would lead us to discrete, meaning it's countable, or it's continuous, meaning it's measurable to an infinitely smaller and smaller and smaller degree? Okay, so for memory size in terms of gigabytes, okay, this is measurable or countable. Okay, this is not just a category of data. And in this case, gigabytes are something that are countable. Okay, we don't end up with like 64.2 gigs of memory when they put it into your product. It's whole numbers, so they are countable. The display size is given in inches, but again, with the right tools, we could break those measurements down into smaller and smaller and smaller increments. So that makes this variable of display size a continuous variable. And then for price, okay, we can't break it down any smaller than the nearest cent. So there is a limit to how far we can go. And the other thing I can give you as a hint is, what do you do with the money in your pocket or in your wallet? You can count it, right? So price or money is always going to be countable. Countable. Why am I writing countable? Sorry, let's go with discrete. It is countable, of course, but I should use the word discrete. Sorry. Discrete. All right, and then last but not least, does it help to know that I make mistakes too? Sure it does, right? The individual, okay, an individual would be any one of those tablets, okay? So one tablet, okay? That could be the iPad mini or the Galaxy or whatever, okay? So just any one particular tablet from the group. And again, I apologize about writing countable instead of discrete. Okay, so this next one, I'm gonna, again, encourage you to pause the video and take a second to figure these out on your own. So what I want you to do is list these as discrete. I'm gonna use a D for discrete. Continuous. So those are both part of that quantitative variable. And then qualitative is the one that's like your category. So I'm going to list D's and C's and Q's. But before we dive in, I want you to take a second to read those 10 things and decide on your own which each would be. All right. So how did you do? My guess is you probably got 6 or 7 right, and you probably missed 3 or 4, and you're not quite sure why. This is one of those times that I definitely want you to take some notes as to which ones you got wrong, write down some questions you have, and these are things that we are going to be discussing during our in-person meeting times. And if you just can't possibly ever wait that long, feel free to post that question to the forum and see if between you and your classmates you can maybe reason some of that out before we meet together as a group, and kind of do some pros and cons and argue back and forth. I'll be listening in on any of those conversations, reading in on any of those conversations. I might chime in if I need to, but it'll also give me some insight into how you guys are thinking, and that will better help me prepare for our first video conferencing, live video conferencing class. So again, hope it went well, but if not, you're normal. There's always things that go a little screwy on that one, and we'll get you all straightened out, I promise. All right, the other thing I'm gonna have you do before you watch the next video is please tackle example 5 and example 6 the best you can on your own before watching the next video, and then chime into the next one, and I'll walk you through that.